Welcome to the Delaware Way. I'm Larry Menti. We come to you from the Barbara Hicks Park in the Southbridge neighborhood of Wilmington. Wilmington has a very important election coming up. They'll be choosing their next mayor. They haven't chosen a Republican to be mayor in Wilmington since 1972, the year that Richard Nixon defeated George McGovern to become president. It's gotten to the point in Wilmington where people think that the Democratic primary election is the election for mayor. I want to introduce you to a man who hopes to change all that. Robert Martin is the Republican nominee for mayor in Wilmington. Sir, thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
We always start when we talk to a candidate for office affording you the opportunity to tell the voters a little bit about yourself. So we offer you that opportunity.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, I actually was born in Hazelhurst, Mississippi. I'm not going to go the whole stage up to now, but that's important because I came here when my father relocated with Chrysler. So we came here, we lived here. But I've always remembered those Southern values because I went back every summer. And that's going to lead into some of the things that we're going to talk about here on this segment. But up until that, I worked for 4 Fortune 500 companies. I was a Marine with the Marine Corps Reserves. I've been involved in the community on many aspects. I've also traveled the country with a famous singer by the name of Luther Vandross with his mother, promoting diabetes and stroke awareness, up into her death. So, I've been around, and I got a lot that I can bring to the city of Wilmington with my business acumen as well.
And that's what you see as your top qualification, your business experience?
Well, I see my top qualification as my people experience. Actually being a resident of South Wilmington, actually walking the streets of West Side, East Side, having many friends. I also owned a business in the city of Wilmington where, I met a plethora of people from the different neighborhoods. So,
I want to deal with a little bit of politics before we get into the issues. And I know there are some issues that have to be at the top of the list, including crime in schools. And I know you've talked a lot about that. So excuse me for doing politics first. The way that it works in Wilmington, usually since 1972, is that people look at the Democratic primary as the election for mayor. And whoever wins that is going to be the next mayor because of registration in this city. And from what I heard, and you can tell me if it's true, many Republicans switch their registration to vote for your opponent, Mike Brzezinski. So if you don't have that Republican support, what is your pathway to victory?
Well, hopefully some of those Republicans are going to come back. But this race isn't about Republican or Democrat. When I'm out talking to people every day, they like my policies, they like my positions, they like where I stand in terms of the community. So my job is to go out and just talk to the regular, everyday people. And you're right, guess what? It's an educational curve. And I don't blame them. I don't want to say out of ignorance, not knowing about the primary and the general. But guess what? Like you said, it's kind of like a habit, is that once the primary is over, the Democrat is normally the presumptive winner of the race by default. But my message is to educate people and say, look, it's not your fault that you don't know. The problem is the party has kind of like made it that way to kind of keep people kind of blind to the fact.
So you need to let people know they have a choice.
We need to let people know that they have a choice.
I also want to ask about how you were selected, because it didn't seem like there was going to be a Republican candidate for mayor. The Republican Party missed the deadline, and all of a sudden there you were. How did that happen?
How it happened was I looked at the crowded field. I said, you mean to tell me that no one on the Republican side of the fence want to have a voice, or at least want to have that moment where we could disseminate some of our principles? And then I just took it upon myself to say, you know what? I think we may have a good chance if certain parties, and you know what, and I'll be very straight up. If Eugene Young would have won, I wouldn't have been out here trailblazing. The guy's fantastic. I had
well, let's stay on that. Yes. Eugene Young, who we've had on the show, a dynamic, charismatic, young, upcoming African American. Is it because he's black that you wouldn't have got in the race if he would have won it?
No, not at all. It was because of the buzz and the support that he had within the community. What he was saying really resonated with a lot of people in the community, and that's my audience. That's my target. So like I said, I'm not going after people of party. I'm going after people for their votes by disseminating my information.
Mike Brzezicki is known for redeveloping the waterfront. And Mike Brzezicki has a name in town, and he has money, and he has the Democratic machine behind him. How in the world do you break through all that?
Because there's one thing that you did not mention: the people. The people. It's the people in the communities, and they are afraid, and this is them speaking, not me speaking. They're worried about gentrification. This is not me speaking, it's them speaking. They're worried about someone of a corporate stature coming in and running City Hall. That's their concerns, not my concerns. So my job is to listen to them. And as long as I'm addressing their concerns and their needs, I'm not worried about the Democratic machine, because we have the voter machine, we have the people machine, we have the community machine, and that's the machine that I want those gears to start running.
Since you brought it up, let's start with gentrification, because I read your Facebook post on this as well, and the way you see it is, if someone who redeveloped the waterfront comes in and that's on his mind, that he would start redeveloping the neighborhoods as well, bringing business into the neighborhoods, raising property values, and make it so that people can't afford to live here, and basically push several people that maybe low income, middle class income out of the city. Is that what you're talking about?
Well,
is that fair?
Yes, that's fair. And you know, there are pros and cons to any redevelopment projects like that come into the inner cities. One of the cons is if you just put those buildings up, or the businesses up. Well, guess what you're doing? You're going to actually attract more crime. Study shows that you're attracting more crime. So you actually have to fix the communities first. So it's more systemic with the communities. Look, there is no problem with bringing in new buildings, new technologies. We can do all of that in Wilmington, but we first got to fix the crime.
Doesn't that bring jobs as well? And jobs would help with the crime problem, and jobs would help with the schools, and jobs would help with everything, right?
Well, see, no, it's kind of backwards. What we have to do is fix the crime problem first. That's why we have businesses leaving. That's why we have residents not coming, is because of the crime issue. Once we show, and it doesn't have to be fixed, but you just have to have a good plan in place, and you have to make people feel comfortable about coming to Wilmington. So you have to have things in place that the public see, so they can see that you're making an effort, and that they can see that they're safe. And then we can talk about bringing those more desirable homes and more desirable businesses, because then we're not worried about people that's struggling breaking into houses.
Mike Brzezicki's never said anything about this. He's not said that he's going to try to move people out and bring rich people in. He's never said. I don't think he would say that.
Do you think he would say that?
But I understand. I understand that. But because he hasn't said that, the fear may be unfounded.
Right.
But you're playing on that fear in your Facebook posts.
Okay. Well, I'm not playing on that fear. I am restating what the community is concerned about, and that's my job. But I'm trying to be the next mayor. So if this is what the people are concerned about, we got to address it. I just can't sit there and have the luxury to say, well, you know what, I can't say anything about it. If people are talking about it, we have to discuss it.
Do you see this as topic number one for you? I know crime is, and so I understand that. But when you debate Mike Brzezicki, you see this as no? Okay.
Not at all. It's the community's concern. My job is to win this race and to make sure that I address their concerns. Look, if we want to put more desirable homes in a location, because right down here in South Wilmington, they're going to be doing the wetlands park. You know what? If you're going to put those desirable homes there, if we got to relocate those people to better housing, let's do so. If they want to stay there, you know what? We need to offer them housing.
Are you in fear of eminent domain when that happens? Will that happen?
Well,
will they just be taking homes?
Well, I don't have a crystal ball to know what will happen, but I know the community will fight. Southbridge and other communities in Wilmington, we're fighters here. So we have civic associations. We have a platform for our voices to be heard, and I will be there hearing the voices. Look, I'm all about improvement of the city, however we need to do it. But we have to look at our long-standing residents, and this is their home as well. And we just can't come in there and say, hey, for eminent domain purposes, we want to create something more desirable. No, what we need to do, if we can fix the facade and put colors up and down Market Street and make those buildings look nice, we can do the same thing with these existing homes.
Like I promised, we'll talk about crime when we start the next segment as we continue our conversation with Robert Martin, the Republican nominee for mayor in Wilmington, when the Delaware Way continues.